X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I have sinus pressure in my nose and throat and my forehead.
You do sound a little stuffed up there. You okay there, buddy?
It's the seasons are changing.
Yes.
And thus my body is angry at me. So I'm a little stuffed up. I've had a good healthy dose of Hall's honey lemon drop, and I do have my wild sweet orange tea that I partake in most of the time anyway, but this will help coat my throat and give you guys the silver tongue that you're used to from me.
I'm
Zack.
I'm glad to hear you're feeling the soothing herbal essences there.
I got a tea kettle 3 weeks ago. It's kind of been a game changer. I forgot you could make tea at home.
Yeah, man. You gotta boil the water and steep the tea, and it's good stuff.
It is.
Tea's great.
It is. Millions of years of human evolution can't be wrong.
You know what else is great, Zach? Gals that are pals.
I like gal pals. And we're going to talk about a couple of gal pals this week because we have a request from Patreon supporter and presumed Rush fan, Goatman2112. Goatman went on over to patreon.com/comicsxf and said, I would like to support local, independent, organic, vegan. I don't know if any of us are vegan. I think some people are vegetarian on the site. It doesn't matter. But like free range, I think free range is a word that you could use to describe the site. It's the kind of comic book journalism that you can get from a Whole Foods. And that's the service that we provide at Comics XF. And we also provide services like doing an episode around a suggestion of yours like Goatman made. So if you want to be like Goatman 2112, go on over to the Patreon. And you know what? Do that. Or, the priests of the Temple of Syrinx will come and get you.
So Zach, where do you fall on the Kitty Pryde love triangle of Rachel and Illyana? Are you more of a Kitty Rachel person or a Kitty Illyana person? Does it matter to you?
So it doesn't matter to me specifically. I have tended to see Kitty and Rachel as if I was going to have an OTP, as the children call it these days. They would be closer on that list than Kitty and Magik. I view Magik as someone who does not exactly prioritize romance or anything in her life. It's just, to me, that's not what she's focused on. She's focused on being the queen of a hell dimension and having a very large sword.
Well, the friendship between Kitty Pryde and Illyana stretches back for quite a while, but I think that a lot of readers were pleased when Brian Michael Bendis decided to feature these two in one of the final issues of his Uncanny X-Men run. So this is Volume 3, number 33, written by Bendis and illustrated by Chris Anka.
Yep, Antonio Fabella does the colors on this. VC's Joe Caramanga. Those are where those letters are coming from. And this is an interesting one, in my humble opinion. So we've talked at length about how the end of the Brian Michael Bendis Uncanny X-Men run is confounding.
That's a great adjective. It is very odd. It's a series of one-shots that don't always match their covers.
No. So, no. Bendis changed his plans when he left the book after Secret Wars and moved into a property that Marvel was caring a lot about being Iron Man, which, okay, I mean, worst case scenario, he got Riri Williams out into the world, so A+ Bendis had beautiful Dave Marquez art. That Iron Man runs, whatever. I don't care for it.
Well, didn't he do the Doom book too?
He did. Infamous Iron Man.
I like that
with Alex Maleev. I love Bendis and Maleev. Their Daredevil run is, in my opinion, the best run on Daredevil that's ever existed.
Whoa. Wow.
High
praise.
I just reread a lot of Daredevil recently, and here's the thing. The Chip Zdarsky run is not done, and the stuff that's up to it, while I like the Zdarsky run, it's missing a certain je ne sais quoi that some of these other runs have. Blessedly, it's more influenced by someone like Nascenti's run, so it adds a bit of an additional flavor to it. But of the stuff I've read recently, which is all of the important Daredevil runs, except for the Charles Soule run, which I've already read that one. I know it's not better than the Bendis run.
I got to go back and read that. I've never read the Bendis.
Oh, dude, the Bendis Maleev Daredevil run is like astonishingly good, and it holds up really well. The tension in that is incredibly good. It starts down the path of Matt's gonna have a bad decade, but
isn't that every Daredevil story?
It's a lot of Daredevil stories. But Matt was having okay times before this by Daredevil standards. Daredevil does not appear in this comic book that we're talking about, though.
No. In fact, the only two until the end we get some other X-Men, but this is mainly Storm and Illyana. This is
Shadowcat
right after
in Illyana. Not Storm.
I'm sorry.
That's a difference.
What did I just say?
You said Storm like the miniseries. You fool.
I was thinking about Storm because she's at the end of the book. So, Kitty and Illyana, this is right after Last Will and Testament of Charles Xavier, and for whatever reason, Illyana decides to teleport them to the Island of Monsters, where there are lots of monsters, and I guess Illyana just wants to blow off some steam by, hacking up some mole man friends, I guess.
She wants to fight Goom. She wants to fight Zemnu the Titan. Wants to fight.
That is Zemnu, right?
Yes, these are all Jack Kirby monsters. They live on Monster Island. Yeah,
they seem a little frustrated that they can't actually attack Kitty, because they phase right through her. But they have a secondary purpose. It's not just there to hack and slash. It's actually to rescue a young mutant who has been left there and abandoned by her father in very, very tragic circumstances.
It is very tragic circumstances. Also, if I'm going to abandon one of my children, which I don't plan on doing, but if I were, I wouldn't take them all the way to a monster island to abandon them. I'd leave them on a corner somewhere. They're not very smart and good at directions. Because Bo...
It seems like a lot of effort to get rid of this adorable child, which I do realize she has this sort of like magical ribbon power that can even hurt Kitty Pryde. So I do recognize that, she seems somewhat dangerous, but you're right. The extra effort to take her to this island seems a bit much.
Yeah, she's like 8. You could leave her to Chuck E. Cheese, and I guess Chuck E. Cheese does have precautions for that. So good on Charles Entertainment Cheese there. But I don't think Dave and Buster's does.
There's no wristbands at the Isle of Monsters here.
It's not even wristbands anymore. Chuck E. Cheese, they do like this laser thing on you, like invisible ink that they put on you, and it has a specific serial number so that you have to match up with your kids to enter and exit.
Dang. No, I didn't know Chuck E. Cheese had lasers. Yeah. This is crazy.
Yeah, it's Charles Entertainment Cheese has all of the good stuff. So we get this issue, and you get Illyana talking about how she's pretty frustrated about all the infighting within the X-Men, and she kind of just wants to go back to everyone being, if not friends, then doing the same goal, which both parties pretty much have, which is kind of the point of the Brian Michael Bendis run, in a sense, is that Cyclops' revolution is a threat, and an empty threat at that, And mostly, he's just doing X-Men stuff the whole time.
Yeah. And I think that, as Bendis is closing out the book here, I do feel like this issue is a little fan servicey, if only because, it's just an opportunity to get two characters that have been, I don't know, they've been in the same book because Kitty has traded over to Cyclops' team to mentor the all-new X-Men, but that's not the Uncanny. I'm getting confused now. Are they in the same book at this point, or what?
They are not in the same book. Kitty is dealing with all-new X-Men, where a lot of that book was actually taking place away from the new Charles Xavier School, whether it was in space or in the Ultimate Universe. There was one arc in the actual Xavier School proper, where Magik has been mostly dealing with the Last Will and Testament of Charles Xavier.
Yeah, okay. So this does give a chance for Bendis to kind of reunite these fan favorite characters.
Yeah,
as
and they've got
a lot of people. Go ahead.
Regardless of what you think of their relationship, and if you want to ship them or whatever, they've got a very good textual dynamic as friends. Mm-hmm. Like, they have a great back and forth, and it's fun to see here. I'm a big fan of Anka, and I know this is kind of the start of Chris Anka really becoming an all-star in comics and then immediately leaving comics to get good-paying jobs in Hollywood, where he's doing the new Spider-Verse movie, which good for him, buddy.
Well deserved. Amazing at character and costume design, and I still really enjoy his interior work. So it's fun seeing him on these books, doing every other issue of Uncanny for a while.
Yeah.
And this has a sweet ending. They bring this small child back, befriend Storm. We get a call back to Kitty being afraid of Nightcrawler when she got to the school originally. And, it's just a chance for Kitty and Illyana to be friends. And I think that solely alone was just a nice moment at this point in continuity.
It's nice. I would also say that this book feels very slight. Like,
yes,
this is a quick read by Bendis standards, and frankly, this entire story feels like it should be the B story in a different book. Like, you could consolidate this down to about 6 pages and get what you need while the rest of a different plot is going on.
I agree wholeheartedly. It's as nice as it is to see the characters hang out for a little bit and rescue somebody. Certainly doesn't have the feeling of a full-blown adventure. If we compare this to other issues around this time, which we'll do in a second, when we rank it. But I'm thinking about like the Mike Del Mundo, Emma training young Jean Grey, where it's just a bottle episode of two characters interacting, but at the same time it feels like it has larger implications. This one is just, hey, this is sort of a love letter to these two characters to hang out for a little bit, and it's nice, but I agree there's not a lot going on here.
Well, we've got a lot going on our very long list of all the X-Men stories ever, of all time, that we are ranking. We're on the road to 500, as we're also on the road to 200 episodes of this podcast, so it's kind of a dual thing. We're getting very close. We have 483 stories on our list. The number one story on our list is House of X, Powers of 10. Number 100 is The Fall and Rise of the New Mutants by Zeb Wells et al. 200 on the list is Phoenix Resurrection, The Return of Jean Grey. Number 300 is the X-Babies miniseries. Number 400 is Ghost Rider Brood Feud 2, and The Bottom's the Draco. So we have two very similar stories, and they're not too far apart on the list, so I want to bring those to your attention first.
Yeah.
At 176 on our list, we have Uncanny X-Men Volume 3, number 35, which is that Gold Balls issue that I like a lot. It's got sword artist Valerio Schiti doing the art.
Yep. That one's better, for sure.
That one's better. And then at 202, we have another Bendis Anka joint, Uncanny X-Men 15.inh, Girls Night Out.
They're very similar.
They are,
you know what I mean?
They are very similar in that they're very uneven. Though I'll say I think the extended cast of Girls' Night Out adds some more variety, where this one doesn't delve deep into Kitty and Magic's relationship dynamic just as friends. Even
Right.
it's
I think even the other one, Girls' Nights Out, like kind of advances the character ideas that we have of Emma, the Cuckoos, like all of them sort of are still being advanced by that story despite it being kind of slight. So I think that one's better.
Low down the list, 215 is Capwolf. I think Capwolf's better than this.
I would agree. How do you feel about it? Oh, okay. You've got Secret Empire highlighted at 229.
The good Secret Empire, the first Secret Empire.
Yep, I would agree.
I think that one's probably better than this because that does have what's his name, Tricky Dick, Richard Nixon shooting himself on panel after being revealed to be the secret leader of the Secret Empire. But right below that is Uncanny 160 Shoots and Ladders, where they go to limbo for like the first time.
Yeah. I'm just keep looking down the list though, because there's not a lot of like substance to this. Mm-hmm. Down at 263, we have the backup in special edition X-Men 1, which is the tour of the school with Kitty and Ileana. I do think this is better than that. So I feel like we're somewhere in between these two numbers here.
This is better than 261 New Mutants Truth or Death.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's shorter than Nation X, the arc where they build up Utopia. I don't know if it's better or worse than that. Actually, no. I would say, here's my pitch. At 255 is X-Men Black Mojo #1, which I think is better. 256 is Uncanny 300, and 257 is X-Men 27, A Song of Mourning, A Cry of Joy, the Threnody issue. I think this is better than the Threnody one, but not as good as 300.
Perfect. So this is going to be our new 257, Uncanny X-Men Volume 233.
What a pick. That was fun. We're a podcast named after a Brian Michael Bendis event, or co-written event. So we tend to like that run.
Well, and if you're a fan of those characters, you got to hunt that issue down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fun.
Not as fun is the second story, which we are covering today, which is right around the story we were just talking about in Uncanny 300. This is Uncanny X-Men 303.
Yeah, Adam, here's the thing. If you only read one X title this month, this issue must be it, which is an interesting way for them to phrase that because it's essentially saying, look, it's not one comic. We know that in August of 1993, there's going to be better comics out there, but do not read X-Force 25. Do not read The Circle Chase, since that would have been one. Do not read Excalibur 68. Read this sad comic about Ileana Rasputin as a child succumbing to the legacy virus.
Oof. I remember when this came out. And I remember seeing the cover on the shelf and going, okay, they're really making a big deal out of this. This must be a good one. And then you open it up and you get art by Richard Bennett, which I could not think of a worse pick for telling this particular story. I just really was yearning for, JR to come back for one more issue, please. Because the way that Richard draws, which is detail heavy here, he's got Dan Green on most of the inks here. It's sort of a weird, I don't know how to describe the way he draws people. There's a certain like mushy clay quality to the way they're like I don't know.
There's a weird badness.
What's your
to it.
impression?
I
There's a what?
It's a weird badness to it. It's definitely a 90s villain guy. That's what Richard Bennett feels like in this issue. Scott Lobdell does the words in it. And you got that sad teen Lobdell stuff with Jubilee. And Jubilee is weird in this because she's jealous that everyone's sad that Illyana's dying. Which I guess she's a child. Jubilee's like, what, 14? Like, she's allowed to have bad emotions.
Yeah, I actually like the way that this is at least structured, right? And that the basic premise is that Illyana is, they cannot figure out how to cure the legacy virus in time to save Illyana from it. So Jubilee has sort of been by Illyana's side, keeping her company, befriending her, even though she can't speak her native tongue. And
which is a weird choice. I feel like the professor should have been like, and there you go, there's English. We gotcha.
Right. Seems
he
really
has set
stupid.
that precedent.
Yes. Yeah, Jubilee could, matrix how to speak Russian, but we're getting all of this in flashback, which I also think is an interesting structural thing. And Jubilee is explaining how she's feeling to Jean Grey, because she's kind of like just sulking around. And, the jealousy that you just noted comes because Kitty Pryde has shown up. And, Jubilee is like, oh, I thought this was my dying friend. And I mean, I'm the friend of the dying girl, not this stranger who just came in, who is the old POV character. I'm the POV character. So
yeah, some call Jubilee the Kitty Pryde of the 1990s.
Right. So like that I kind of get. I think as the previous issue ended with Kitty arriving, it is a little strange the way that Kitty is sort of aged up, even though she's acknowledged as being 17, I think, here.
Listen, we don't need to worry about how old Kitty Pryde was in the 90s. It'll only upset us.
It's very strange. So she's drawn as, an older woman.
She's drawn as a 90s babe. She's drawn as a 90s Image comic art was popular babe. That's what she's drawn as.
Right.
And it's like, come on, buddy. This is a sad story. But
we do get, at least story-wise, the flashbacks of, Kitty and Illyana's relationship through the years. And, unfortunately, it does not end well. Jubilee is there as Illyana dies and is able to comfort her with a little Banff doll. And it's sad, but I think that, if you're milking this for emotion, I don't know that it lands as heavy as it could, much sadder is the end of the Illyana arc in Inferno. This is much more about getting Illyana out of the way so that Colossus can become further incensed and angry and go join the Acolytes.
Yeah, much sadder is Colossus realizing that, okay, so in the last, let's call it 3 months, my brother committed giant suicide after I found him in an alternate dimension. My parents were killed by former KGB operatives. And now my little sister is dead. Colossus straight up not having a good time, man.
No, and they, for whatever reason, story plot wise, Colossus can't make it back in time to say goodbye one last time. So
because they just want to torture Colossus. And
exactly.
I listen, because I know there's people saying it. I understand wanting to torture Colossus. I get it. I have wanted to at some points in my life myself, but it is very sad that all of these terrible things happened to him one after another, and I understand why he said, hey, maybe the X-Men suck.
I mean, his conclusion is well-founded, I think. Where I think that the story kind of breaks down in terms of being from Jubilee's perspective is that, the story ends with Jubilee's grief, and I don't know that it properly deals with the gravity of what Jubilee should be feeling in this moment, which is like, man, joining the X-Men is like, I'm gonna die. Like, I feel like that would be the takeaway in this situation. That, you know, like everything is kind of this morbid end for anybody even associated with the team. And it's more of a Jean Grey saying, well, kiddo, you know, it was a life worth living. And, you
also,
know,
Jean, you're not allowed to complain about that.
Right.
Listen, you went by Phoenix for a spell, and we all know mythology. This is a weird, emotionally manipulative comic, because all it's trying to do is make you feel very sad for this character that hasn't really been a character in the last very long amount of time, and only exists as like, remember all those good New Mutant stories you liked?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And it's like,
yeah.
Come on, you guys aren't
Yeah.
even. If you're gonna make a big swing, who died from the friggin' Legacy virus? Kanan, Pyro. No, Pyro didn't even die from the Legacy virus. Who dies from the Legacy?
Mastermind?
Mastermind died.
Right.
Magik died, and Kanan, even like psychically kills herself or whatever. They just didn't go hard with this Legacy virus stuff, and they really want to reap the benefits of everyone feeling sad for X-Men dying, but they don't actually want to kill any X-Men.
No, and they're willing to let the Legacy virus, as we've talked about in the past, just linger forever. So, you know, this is one of its first casualties, and, you know, it is very emotionally manipulative. So, not a huge fan of this issue in particular. Why don't we rank this this somber, emotionally manipulative comic? I don't think it's as good as the first story that we did today at 257. So
it's not as good as Skinning of Souls is our new 300 right now, which is right before this.
Yeah,
and that's where Peter's parents die, and I think Skinning of Souls is better.
I would agree. 100%. How do you feel about it against something like Extinction Agenda at 313?
I mean, it's not as long as Extinction Agenda. Extinction Agenda is too long, y'all. But like,
it's got that good Jim Lee art, but then the rest of it, oof.
317 is The Cure.
Oh.
I think the
Cure is better. I think below that you've got Bishop's Crossing. I think that's better.
Not as good as the first arc of Generation Hope, I don't think. I'm looking through. This is probably better than X-Corp.
At 329, I agree.
I'm sorry, X-Corp.
Yes.
This is
not as good.
Or Banshee's paramilitary team.
Yeah, not as good at 327. We have All New X-Men Volume 217, which is IVX tie-in.
Did we rank that? I have no recollection of that episode. I mean, I believe it, but...
So...
I don't remember. Right below that is Divided We Stand from Uncanny X-Men. I don't remember ranking that at all either.
I feel like we did that more recently.
I don't know. Time's all...
We do a lot of stories on this show.
We do 3
better or worse than Divided We Stand?
Let's say better.
All right. So this is going to be our new 328.
This is our new 328. It's called Going Through the Motions. Man, it really does.
And speaking of motions, Zach, I was wondering if you, as a Earther, could teach me how to properly use the restroom.
Oh, we're doing that now. Guys, we got to talk about Secret Wars 2. Secret Wars 2 is bad. It's Jim Shooter getting so high on his own supply, and literally forcing every Marvel comic to get in on his plans or get out. And that includes the New Mutants in New Mutants 36 by Chris Claremont and Mary Wilshire. Bill Sienkiewicz does the inks on this one. Michael Higgins is our colorist, and Tommy Orrs, he does those letters. This is called Subway to Salvation, and it's about the New Mutants feeling weird about seeing the Beyonder and having a fight with the Beyonder.
Jeez Louise.
And then Ileana loses her soul sword and Kitty gets it because they are connected in a very deep and intimate way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Gal pals.
And then, then the Gal pals, and then there's a fight. There's a Gal pal fight.
I feel so bad for everybody that had to work under Jim Shooter with, I just saw that memo recently. I'd never seen it before where he basically crosses out, all of these lines about how he writes all the characters better than anybody else that works for him. And it's like, no, you don't. What are you talking about?
I think Jim Shooter is probably the most fascinating person in comics history. He is the beautiful center of an amazing story. Like, he was writing Legion of Superheroes as a young teenager.
Mm-hmm.
He had been in comics forever. He had success in comics and, frankly, was leading the most creatively fruitful period in Marvel Comics history since the Stan and Jack era of the 60s, and some would even argue the most creatively fruitful period, bar none.
It's probably my favorite, for sure.
Listen,
but the ego.
You got a lot of Claremont, you got a lot of Frank Miller, you got a lot of Walt Simonson. That's some good stuff right there. You even got John Byrne, who a lot of people do like. We're just saying there's a lot of big power players in the Shooter era. Shooter seems like the worst person in the world to work for. I don't think there's a single employee who has ever said a good thing about working for James Shooter, the very tall man.
Ooh, who's taller, Jim Shooter or Mark Silvestri?
I bet Jim Shooter. Jim Shooter's like 6'6". Jim Shooter's
he's that
big
tall?
Jim Shooter big.
Wow, that's crazy.
Shooter.
I had no idea he was that tall.
Why would
we're looking this up?
Yeah, I am looking it up.
Here we go.
The legend
drum roll, please.
Everyone's using height in like he's taking this book to new heights, and I'm like, no,
that's not what we need.
We need
Shooter, stats.
What's on the Jim Shooter trading cards? Jim Shooter was so hated that John Byrne, when he took over in a big one-shot of the new universe, he completely and utterly destroyed Jim Shooter's hometown of Pittsburgh and turned it into the Pit, which was a big nuclear hole.
Oh my God.
Because everyone hated Jim Shooter so much. So people will sometimes be like, well, we should say nice things about Jim Shooter. Look at all the good things he did. Yeah, imagine if Jim Shooter didn't suck, how many even better comics could have come out. You ever think about that? Jim Shooter was 100% right, though, when he said that you got to kill off Jean Grey. You can't let her just do a genocide. He was right there. His editorial mind, sometimes, very sharp. His management skills, very poor.
And the fact that Secret Wars 2 is just omnipresent. It's over all the titles. And it's just obnoxious to constantly be running into the Beyonder over and over and over again. And this issue is really no exception. Ileana is just trying to take the subway to meet Kitty and runs into the Beyonder and suddenly becomes like a born-again follower of whatever he's got going on. And that subway car goes off and travels through the air over to the Xavier school where they're just trying to have a normal hangout at the pool party. And a battle ensues. They have to fight a giant demon or whatever. Is it clear that it's demons coming through limbo?
Yeah,
or are they coming from somewhere else?
They're coming from limbo.
Okay, that's a little unclear. I gotta say, I love Wilshire and Sienkiewicz's combination here. I think the artwork here is fun.
Sienkiewicz is such a good inker. Like, I love Sienkiewicz's pencils, but his ink work elevates stuff and adds such a mood to everything that he's the one inker that I get excited about. I just love Bill Sienkiewicz so much.
Yeah. absolutely fantastic. And, you know, like you mentioned, Kitty does get the soul sword, or gets even a little bit of the armor as well when she holds the soul sword.
She gets a lot of the accoutrement of magic.
But the sword has to be returned to Ileana, who has to accept her demon self. I feel like that's happened before, but it's happening again here. And she chops the demon in half, and everybody's okay, which is great. Except Beyonder's going to come back next issue. And I think the issue after that?
Yeah,
right?
the Beyonder's going to murder kill all of the New Mutants. So it's just going to keep on going. And Secret Wars 2 is so freaking long, y'all. It's not
It is.
good.
It's endless. It's kind of like Acts of Vengeance. You know, you see that tag up in the corner, and you're just not sure what you're going to be in store for. But Secret Wars 2, you know, you're going to have an awkward cameo by this white fella in a tacky suit with curly hair. It's going to be annoying. So I don't know if I would recommend this issue. You do have to understand it so that when you get to that great Art Adams cover on 38 that you know what's going on and why they think they're dead. But, you know, aside from the art, there's not a lot to recommend here. Oh, we didn't mention it. Beautiful Barry Windsor Smith cover on this one.
Yeah, there's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got distracted by finding out secret things about Jim Shooter. Not his actual heights, but once he dropped lead wine on his head because they were doing wrestling moves in the Marvel office, and Stan Lee walked in and he was an adult, and they were afraid of the adult. And he dropped lead wine right on his stinking head. That's straight from Jim Shooter's mouth. He has a very long WordPress blog, jimshooter.com, where the byline is writer, creator, large mammal.
Well, that tracks with the height. So
I like to believe that Jim Shooter at 69 has chilled out a bit. Like,
you'd think.
I would hope so. Like, he's just got to be chill at this point. I would hope. I don't know.
All right. What do you say we rank this puppy?
We should rank this puppy. This is kind of a non-issue, right? Like, it's just there.
Yeah, I mean, like, for all of our complaints about Richard Bennett's artwork in Uncanny 303, I mean, there was story there was plot. I think you just highlighted at 340 we have the New Mutant Summer Special. I mean, I obviously think that's better than this.
I had highlighted a lot of things. Sorry, let me jump right back down to it. Oh no, 340 New Mutant Summer Special. Is this better than the end of New Mutants, the Rob Liefeld stuff?
No.
No,
it's not. It's not.
It's not better. It's better. This is not in the bottom 400 because this is not in the 400s. This is in the low threes, I think.
It is. I feel like we're on par with 371. We have Dazzler versus the X-Men.
Dazzler versus the X-Men's better.
It is. It is. But I feel like we're in that right era. Like we've got
Cyclops Retribution, Judgment Wars around there, NYX No Way Home.
Like, this isn't as bad as the Uncanny X-Men Annual number 8, where we get that, like, space story with Ileana. This is better than that.
Yeah, friend of the show, Chris Edelman, has been reading all of the Uncanny X-Men annuals. And
Poor Chris.
He's come to the realization that all of us had already known that Chris Claremont was terrible at writing annuals. He wrote 2 good ones.
They aren't great. You go for the occasional God tier Art Adams art, and then you maybe skip some.
Yeah,
because
not
anyway,
the best work.
No, this is better than All New X-Men 4-7, the Paris arc.
Yeah, probably. I would say it's better than Life of Times of Lucas Bishop at 372, but not as good as that Dazzler versus the X-Men story.
Perfect. So that would make it our new 372.
We're gonna come back to this story, and I'm gonna immediately forget what in the world it was when we bring it up next, because I forgot while we were talking. But this episode's done now, Adam, which is good because again, my voice. I'm sure when
you're
I
doing
go back
great,
to
buddy.
edit
You're
this,
doing okay.
I'm out of tea. I'm gonna need more tea, Adam. I'm gonna need some herbal tea, maybe some sleepy time.
Thank the Goat Man before you brew some more.
Thank you, Goat Man 2112. I hope you're on a train to Bangkok aboard the Thailand Express or whatever it is. I forget. I haven't listened to 2112 in a while. Hold on. 2112 Rush. I want to get this right. On the train to Bangkok.
Way more Rush knowledge than I have.
Yeah, it's Passage to Bangkok. That's why. I knew that Thailand Express wasn't the name of it. No, 2112 is an incredible album. The first side is a single 20-minute and 33-second song called 2112.
Nice.
Which is a rock opera about Neil Peart, the greatest drummer to ever have lived, got real into Ayn Rand in the 70s and did write a rock album about exceptionalism and Randian things, which is less great. Luckily, the story is incomprehensible and the music's very good.
So it's like a Zack Snyder movie.
I think it's on the same level of understanding. But here's the thing, Adam. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me 3 times. I'm not going to go watch a 4-hour movie if I didn't like 2 other movies that the same dude did in the same setting with these same actors and characters. That seems like a waste of my time. No, but a lot of people have. Listen.
Oh, I watched it.
I know you watched it.
Yeah.
It was an event, and I cannot wait to never have to hear about it again. It'll be so nice. But thank you to the Goat Man for giving us that gift. If you want to be like him, patreon.com/comicsxf. We got a lot of cool things going on. Hey, Adam, what do you got going on?
Folks, you can always find me over on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. And what do we got going on next week, Zach? This is an interesting one.
Next week we got comics that Marvel can't actually reprint because they involve toys. They involve that time in the 80s where Marvel teamed up with a bunch of toy manufacturers and made toy comics, and they set them in the Marvel universe because collected editions weren't a thing. And oops, now it's very difficult to find issues of Crystar the Crystal Warrior.
I'm excited about this one.
That'll be good. We've got a buddy coming and joining us for that one, so that'll be great. But until then, folks, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!